Welcome back to the Djellab channel, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it's nothing but football, brought to you by me, Zachary Reese Djellab. But today, joining me is Ben
Bowman.
Middle name?
I actually don't have a middle name.
Wow.
And I'm just Ben, not Benjamin.
He is just Ben.
Henry might have a more interesting name, actually.
Henry. Oh, yeah. We've only got one mic today because when I got the mics out, the back of it had come out and one wire wasn't connected. So a little bit risky to use that and just make sure that Henry's audio wasn't a thing. But Henry Bruce?
Bruce.
Is that Doogie?
Bruce.
Doogie might have been Bruce.
Henry
Bruce is class.
Which one were yours?
Mine's Jean-Claude.
Jean-Claude!
That's class.
What a middle name.
Yeah.
Henry Jean-Claude Van Dam Hill. What a middle name. How are you doing, Henners?
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Good.
fine. Yeah, buzzing for this completely, fantasy episode.
Yeah.
we're about to deliver.
Just giving away our full government identities.
class.
Ben's is literally just Ben Bowman, so he's already given it away. But guys, before we get into the video, I've got to talk about today's sponsor. And that's because William Hill are back again sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Of course, it's all about Final One Standing. It's the ultimate last person standing game with a share of £500,000 up for grabs. That's just about close to what I pay Henry Hill every year to be on this podcast. If you've never heard of it, the game's super easy. Every week, you guys will pick one team to submit for that round's game week. If that Premier League team goes on to win, then you are through to the next round. It's as easy as that. However, if that team loses or draws, you're out. The other unique side to it as well is once you have picked that team, you can't pick that team ever again for the rest of the season. There's no admin, there's no charges, it's absolutely free to play. We'll mention it a few times throughout this video, giving you suggestions at who you should maybe look at and who you maybe shouldn't be looking at for your pick for the first game week. If you guys want to play and enter, then get in the description below or scan the QR code on screen right now and download the William Hill app. You've then got until 12:30 on Saturday, the 16th of August to submit your team before game week 1 starts. So if you want to go bold or play it safe, it's completely up to you. The Final One Standing is the best way to test your knowledge. And of course, you must be over 18 to play, live in the UK or Ireland, and of course terms and conditions apply with full terms in the link below in the description. Please, of course, gamble responsibly. But without further ado, lads, let's jump over to the podcast topic because we're doing a little bit more of predicting. We love to predict in this YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel, and we're going to be talking about the team of the season. We're jumping to May 2026. You've gone full bleach blonde.
And celebrating the Spurs Premier League title.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah.
Henry, Fulham have somehow managed, after the CAS appeals, have managed to get a place in Europe.
Yeah.
You've won the Europa League. It's incredible. Your hair is this full, thick mane now. It's luscious. It's got volume to it. Lots has happened. Has happened here.
What's more realistic out of those two things?
Well, we're not in a position to be in the Europa League.
There's probably a better chance that you win the Europa League than they win the Premier League.
Yeah, good.
Both
I
is
think
zero.
You know what, Palace and Forest,
Neither
you.
you. Fulham are coming in. However, what we're going to do is talk about predicting the team of the season for the end of the Premier League that is about to start next week. Again, as I mentioned before, crazy to say it's starting next week. Absolutely bonkers. But without further ado, we're going to go through all 11 positions and suggest a manager as well. Ben, as you've got the mic, you can kick things off.
In goal, I've got David Raya. I feel like the most secure part of Arsenal's team, which is still going to be incredibly secure going into next season, is that back four and goalkeeper. David Raya, I think, was the best goalie in the Premier League last season. I know you could throw a shout in for Matt Sells, who was excellent in a Forest system that gave him a hell of a lot of protection, to be fair. And obviously Raya has got the same with the centre backs in front of him, Saliba and Gabriel, who's coming back from injury. Raya is arguably the best shot stopper, and I just think it's hard to look past him considering Arsenal's defence. I think is still going to be quite strong, and he's a massive part of that. So I've gone for David Raya.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fair pick to go for. Someone who I think there's really three goalkeepers that you can kind of pick quite easily, and it could be Raya, it could be Alisson, and I think a mix of Edison or Trafford, I could understand possibly. Trafford maybe a little bit more surprising.
You can't have a mix, mate.
No, very true. Yeah, of course. Cheers, lads. Cheers, lads. So I've actually gone with Rob Sanchez. I'm joking. I haven't actually gone for Rob Sanchez. I've gone for Alisson. I think the guy is a freak. It does feel like is going to be Alisson's final song, like it's going to be his final season with Liverpool, and he is just an exceptional goalkeeper, constantly season after season proving why he is one of the best, if not the best keepers in the world. I think he does it consistently all the time. Last year there were definitely issues with his injury record, which I think is why it allowed other people to kind of
Mohamed Ashvili is going to be knocking on the door.
He can knock on the door. He can knock on the door all he wants. Like Alisson won't open it, unfortunately. Maybe he'll play his League Cup minutes. He'll play FA Cup minutes, I'm sure. And maybe what we'll see towards the end of the season is a passing of the torch, and eventually he is the starting goalkeeper. But I do think if Liverpool want to put their strongest starting 11 out and want to go as far as they can this season, Alisson's in goal for it, realistically. Yeah. And he is. Look, we don't need to go into the numbers. We don't need to go into his ability in the net as well, because he is outstanding for it. He's been doing it for, it feels like close to a decade now. So, yeah, I feel like it's tough to just, it feels like we are saying the obvious names, but that is kind of what this is. Yeah. Like half of the team this season is going to be pretty obvious.
I follow Ben really very succinctly. I just when you look at the numbers, David Raya is just a remarkable keeper, and actually 74.2% save rate last season was the third best in the Prem. That's not one of the best in Europe, full stop. And then if you remember how good he was at that season at Brentford in 22-23, when he was arguably one of the best keepers in Europe, hands down, and that was in a different system where he was making a lot more saves, a lot more shots. He's carried over that safe pair of hands behind a rock-solid defence. It seems quite funny to say after they just lost to Villarreal. Yeah. But, the signing from Valencia, I think, is exceptional. Yeah. Exceptional value. I think Ben White's coming back. Lewis Skelly's only going to get better. Timber's getting better and better. So when you look at that defence, you do think, there's exactly what Ben said. There's no holes in it. And behind that, they've got a really solid keeper who rarely concedes. I think statistically, it's hard to say that he's not going to be the best keeper next year. Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any outside shouts there, because again, no one would have said Matt Sells at the start of the season, but possibly.
It's an interesting one, because I do think Spurs. I think, for example,
Vicario on his day
will be better next year. Vicario could have an exceptional campaign. I even think Kevin Kelleher could turn up and make a serious amount of saves for Brentford. It's just really hard to judge.
I think with Spurs, it's going to be interesting to see who is our number one goalkeeper. I do think it will be Vicario, to be honest, but I think Kinski will be knocking on the door. I think Kinski gives Spurs quite a lot in build-up with his range of passing. Vicario is quite limited on the ball, but I still think it probably will be Vicario. And with a more solid defence in front of him, where he's not as exposed all the time and just kind of has to be that shot stopper, I think you will see him go back to the level that we saw him probably in that first season, where everybody did rate him highly before he kind of had those shaky moments with the set pieces. So I think it's a shout. I just think Raya is... I think he's clearly right now the best keeper in the league. Alisson's still amazing, but I just think it's hard to look past Raya, to be honest.
The thing is, Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland have all got brand new number ones this year. Yeah. And one of them was Lyon's best keeper. One of them comes from the Eredivisie, and the other I can't remember who Burnley have signed. The point being, it's they could all be great. But anyway,
well, obviously there's Petrovic as well that's gone over to Bournemouth. He was nominated for one of the best goalkeepers in Ligue 1 last season. It's going to be interesting once Trafford kind of takes over the torch from Edison at Man City.
Yeah. Do you think that will happen though, or do you think it'll kind of be a mix?
I think whatever happens, Edison's going to be leaving at the end of this year, and so I think it'd be a smart decision of City to throughout this. Again, depends on how things are going, but if they are willing to bring back Trafford, I think that is definitely with the idea that he can be a first-team player.
Yeah.
And he will have to be, I think, eventually. So, I think, look, let us know with all of these positions who your predicted team of the season is down below in the comments as well. Put your whole team there. I'm very interested to see who people are thinking. Over to right back. I don't mind kicking this off, guys. I'm saying it.
I know you're going
to I'm saying it.
I know you're going to say
Reece James. In previous seasons, I've never wanted to do it because I think his biggest issue is injury record is such a asterisk next to his name.
To be fair,
I do think it's changing. I think with the way Maresca is dealing with him or handling his injury situation, it is working better. We saw him play the most amount of minutes and games last season than he has in a number of years since Thomas Tuchel's Champions League winning prime season. And that's a fantastic sign. Like, Reece James on his day is one of the best right backs in the league, without a doubt. Questions about how he'll be used in terms of this Maresca system. If he still wants him to be kind of being a right centre back at times, or popping into midfield. However, like, I always think, most recently in that PSG game of Chelsea, we did see Gusto in that right back position bombing forward, and I think Reece James can do that easily. The question there, though, is if you're getting to do that, that's where injuries can be a little bit more susceptible to happening. But when he is fit and firing, he is ridiculous for us. Like, he's one of the best right backs in the world, to be quite honest. The issue is just that injury record. But I feel like this season is going to be the season he's going to overcome it and put his mark.
I do agree with you. Like, when he's there, he's really elite. But at the same time, I think Gusto will still be sharing minutes with him. I still think Gusto will be getting a handsome amount of minutes at right back for Chelsea next year.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And when it comes down to saying who's been the best right back of the season, I don't think Reece James will have played enough minutes or had enough impacts, regardless of level, to be that
What do you
guy.
think the number is? Like, if he goes over 2,000 Premier League minutes, do you think that's enough
but
to be like...
even there, he has to like almost start 30 games for me to be considered the best right back in the league.
For 29, it's just not enough.
Not happening, mate. I mean, look, I found this really hard to pick. I don't necessarily... We'll see how it goes. I've gone for Frimpong at Liverpool just because I think, given his attacking nature, given the way that Salah will be occupying defenders in front of him anyway, I think Frimpong's going to get in behind a lot next year. And every now and then, we just love that attacking fullback and the numbers that they can post there. Frimpong's numbers could be silly. They could be wild. And like, no disrespect, seeing the name that you've put down, it shows like it is a bit open. It's up for grabs. The best right back in the league
100%,
next year.
100%.
It's up for grabs.
I thought he was going a different way with that.
I think like left back. It's much more boiled down, the contenders for left back next year.
Yeah.
Whereas for right back, who knows? Will Liverpool's quite different team impact them? I still think they're going to be unbelievably strong. But yeah, Frimpong, I don't have any doubts over his defensive capabilities. I think if you look at his numbers at Leverkusen, there's more enough there to suggest that he can be more of a defensive fullback. Will Conor Bradley get minutes? Maybe that's where I'm like shooting myself in the foot with my argument against you. But I just think that if Frimpong gets into a rhythm and he starts scoring and assisting, if he's got Ekitike, maybe Isak in front of him as well with Salah, he could post some really scary numbers for a right back, and everyone will be like, I've got to pick him. So that's why I've gone for Frimpong for this one.
I think that's a fair shout. My kind of reasoning for not going with Frimpong was similar to what you just said and what you said about Reece James, was that I think they'll kind of use Frimpong and Bradley in terms of like horses for courses, whatever game suits that fullback naturally the most. However, it was quite scary watching Liverpool against Bilbao in that second game the other night, with Frimpong staying high and wide like he does that outlet on the right-hand side. The coverage that he's got behind him in Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, I think, started in that game, their ability to cover ground and mop up the space that Frimpong will leave by being that outlet. And I think Frimpong's ability to kind of supplement what this new role for Salah will be as well, I think will have a massive impact on how Frimpong's viewed as well, not just what he does in terms of his output, because I think staying high and wide as that outlet, getting in behind, allowing Salah to come into those more central spaces to create at this stage of his career, I think is a really nice use of Salah from slot, and Frimpong will have a big role to play in that. You look at how Salah was like, I don't know, like him and Wirtz kind of dropping into those two number 10s I just think it's so scary and exciting for Liverpool, but that is only allowed to happen because of Jeremy Frimpong.
Still yet to hear why you think your player's going to get it then.
Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro, because I think Pedro Porro, I think you're right, there is a massive gap now for someone to take that chain that was left by Trent to say, I am the best right back in the Premier League. I know it was always up for debate a little bit with Trent anyway. He had his doubters. Maybe there was people that preferred like a Timber, which is a totally fair shout, different style of fullback. Ben White comes into that as well. But I do think Pedro Porro, I think he's going to have a massive part to play under Thomas Frank next season. Touchwood, he doesn't get injured. He's been incredibly durable for Spurs over the last couple of years. He played more minutes out of anyone under the Postecoglou era, when you consider the amount of injuries we had for someone who had so much pressure on him and so much kind of physical exertion in that right back role, with how much he had to go up and down. I think Porro's kind of role, because we conceded so many goals, or Porro's impact on that team because we conceded so many goals, was quite often overlooked. And I think he went from when he first joined the league, I think everyone was kind of excited about it, and I think he went into kind of like overrated 11s and overrated shouts quite quickly, when actually I think he can be quite frustrating from a Spurs fan at times with his decision making, but I do feel like he's much more consistent, much more stable than a lot of fans outside of Spurs give him credit for. I feel like the way that Frank's going to use him is going to vary quite a lot from game to game. We've seen Spurs building up in a 3 with him kind of tucking in as a right-sided centre-back, which you'll see his amazing long-range passing ability like we saw with Trent. Also, him getting forward into those kind of half spaces, delivering goals and assists from further forward. He's got an amazing goal catalogue for Spurs, and I do feel like if you give him a bit more attacking licence next year as well under Frank, if we're a little bit more solid on the other side and we have someone to tuck in to allow him to go forward, I feel like you're going to see his output stay at a very consistent level, hopefully even improve. I think one thing that does get overlooked with Porro is I think he's going to play in a system that exposes him less now. People have kind of criticised his one-on-one defending ability, which actually I think is improving game by game. And also his appetite for defending is much stronger than people give him credit for. He loves defending, loves getting in the duel, loves a slide and tackle, loves being there to stop the winger getting past him. Like, he does do a lot of the stuff more often than people actually... Like, the more people see, the more people give him credit for. And I feel like this is the year, with that space opening up, I feel like he's going to almost be quite determined to take that best right back in the league spot that is almost... has been left vacant by Trent. I think, like I said, I think his defending is improving all the time, especially 1v1, and I feel like you're going to see him go to another level from an attacking perspective under Frank as well. So
I actually think it's a pretty good shout. I think it's pretty safe.
I know it's like biased from a Spurs fan's perspective, but I do feel like he does get quite overlooked. I feel like he does get quite overlooked a bit, and I don't know how he's become all of a sudden so like overrated. I see like when people do overrated 11s, Porro's like the first right back chucked in there. I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel like if
I think it's pretty rated.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he could go to another level. He's one of the players that I'm most excited about under Frank, to be honest. Like, I feel like he could go to another level for sure.
Okay, so we've got Porro, Frimpong, and of course Reece James. Worth mentioning as well, Chelsea are playing Crystal Palace in the final one standing for that. Could be worth it as well, though maybe you don't want to waste Chelsea on your first pick. That is worth thinking about. I also think it's worth mentioning as well, Tino Livramento could easily have a fantastic season at Newcastle.
I almost put him down. But then I looked at his numbers last year. He's a very solid, and it contradicts my left back. He was very solid. He played a lot of minutes, but I think you need to see more attacking end products. Livramento, perhaps.
I mean, he also didn't he do a bit of stints at left back as well sometimes for them?
When Lewis was injured.
And again, like I always think sometimes you forget how young he is because he has been around a little bit now, hasn't he? When he made his kind of like first appearance when he was on loan at Southampton, and then of course Ola Aina, who could easily just be great again.
I'm not having that Forest are going to have a good season.
Okay, then don't think about Ola Aina.
Sorry, Forest.
there you go, guys. Let's go with our centre backs. I think we might as well just do both of them at the same time for this one. To be quite honest, I've gone with, and you can call me out on this, I've gone with Saliba and Van Dijk. If you have any questions about maybe you think the positioning of a left centre-back or a right centre-back or whatever,
that's fine. Absolutely fine.
Saliba, Van Dijk. Look, they're both incredible. Saliba now is approaching kind of like watching him play consistently week in, week out. He is approaching one of the best centre-backs in the world levels now. Really in the Premier League, if we're going to be honest. I made the argument last season. I still kind of back it. I think Gabriel had a better season than Saliba. Saliba also had the injury issues. However, Saliba's still got that potential to go even further, which is quite frightening, to be honest. Like, there is a little bit of me that always thinks that maybe one day Real Madrid will come in with this kind of move for him. He also hasn't signed that new deal at Arsenal just yet. We know what Real Madrid like to do with kind of like getting a free transfer. Liverpool know all about that most recently, but they did get £10 million actually, so maybe not the worst. But yeah, I think Van Dijk and Saliba is probably the easiest two to just shout out anyway. Yeah. We've mentioned about Arsenal's defence and how incredible they are. Van Dijk last season was one of the best, if not the best centre-back in the league, and it doesn't feel like he's going to be dropping off anytime soon. So interested to see whether you guys have picked anyone but those two.
I've gone for Van Dijk.
Okay.
But I've gone for Gabriel. Obviously, Gabriel back from injury now, played in the Emirates Cup for Arsenal last night. From what I saw, looked a little bit sluggish, but it was his first game back from injury. He is the most important defender, I think, in that Arsenal team, because I think when you saw Gabriel's injury last season, the impact that actually had on Saliba. I know Kivior came in and did a good job to replace Gabriel, but Saliba's game did drop off quite significantly, I think, when Gabriel was out of the team. And I think Gabriel, over the course of the last 18 months or so, has established himself as the A side of that centre-back partnership. And I do feel like, again, like we spoke about with Raya, the most solid secure thing in Arsenal's team right now is still that defence. There's question marks maybe over other areas. Do they need to add more in attack, etc.? Is that gonna be what stops them from getting over the line finally? But the one thing that won't stop them is that defence. And I just feel like Gabriel, I think it's going to take him a minute just to fully recover, get back from injury. It'll be interesting to see now with Mosquera coming into the team, or into the squad. Sorry, I know he's a right-sided centre-half, Mosquera, I'm pretty sure. I do think Arteta will kind of be a little bit careful with Gabriel towards the start, but when it comes to the crunch in the back end of the season, I still feel like we're going to see monstrous performances from Gabriel in the bigger games, in the Premier League and the Champions League as well. So I think it's hard to look past him with what he's shown over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I also went for Gabriel as well, and I don't think, again, statistics will come into this, and his goal threat from corners is just, he's an absolute monster in the box when it comes to headers and goals, and I think people do look at that kind of thing down the track. But yeah, you know what? I sit next to an Arsenal fan in my office, and I was like, Saliba or Gabriel? And he went, I'd probably go for Gabriel. So that's why I went for it.
Oh, wow.
I haven't included Van Dijk, because I knew that you two might do. I've gone for Gvardiol.
Yeah. I think he's the other option, isn't he?
Because
easily,
with Aït-Nouri coming in and probably filling in at left back, playing more as a specialist left back, which is where Gvardiol spent most of his minutes last season, I think this is the season we finally get to see him play at centre-half alongside Ruben Diaz. And that is actually a joke of a partnership. As in, I know Saliba, Gabriel, great. Konate, Van Dijk, epic. I don't think we realise just how good
I do agree.
Fully settled Gvardiol next to Ruben Diaz is. Like Ruben Diaz not even being mentioned is a bit silly because he's just so good.
I did think about Diaz, to be honest. When especially it kind of came back to my mind when you said Gvardiol, because it's like I do feel like Diaz, where he came into the league and won player of the season, I think in his first year, didn't he? I feel like because he's had injury problems and he's maybe been in and out of the team a little bit because of that. But I do feel like everyone's kind of forgot how good he actually is at his peak. He's class, and he's only 20.
He's like 25, 26. He's dating my jammer. He's got a good life, you know.
He's winning.
But Gvardiol is even younger. He's still super young and yet has played so much football for Croatia, for Zagreb, for Leipzig, and now for City. And 5 goals last year as a marauding left back. He's a goal threat as well. Good goals, important goals. I think his one-on-one defending is exceptional. His last ditch tackles, unreal. I've watched him live a few times. Really enjoy. I think he's just amazing. And I think this is the year settled alongside Ruben Diaz. And of course, injuries could change anything about this.
Very true.
I think for me, with Van Dijk only getting older, slightly changed fullback system around him. Well, that's the same for City, I guess. But yeah, I just think Gvardiol, why not?
No, I think you guys are spot on there. Like, unless there's a crazy last-minute move for, say, a Murillo or something like that, I think those are probably the 3 or 4 centre-backs that are going to be absolutely outstanding.
When you said that about injuries, I was with Van Dijk, my big kind of, as it always is with this, if he can stay injury-free, but an injury to Van Dijk would be a disaster for Liverpool, I think. Like an absolute disaster.
Is he ever injured, though? Well, why do I feel like I never remember Van Dijk
he
ever
had that
being
bad,
injured?
obviously he had the bad injury a few years ago, but he's, other than that, he doesn't really pick up that many
but it's also
niggles that he's out for a few weeks.
But I think you can apply that to most people's best player. Like, if Cole Palmer got injured in Chelsea,
but I do think with like Henry kind of touched on there, I know it's the same for City, where those fullbacks are going to be so marauding and get forward for Liverpool. Obviously, I think Szoboszlai in that 8 position I thought was great the other day, who can cover so much ground and win duels, get about the pitch. Same with Gravenberch. I do feel like they still have that cheat code of Van Dijk being able to sweep up behind them. Without Van Dijk, it does look a bit scary for Liverpool. I think they need to go into the market and add another centre-half. But definitely. I do back him to stay fit. And if he does stay fit, then I still just think he's imperious. He's the best. It's hard to look past it.
Well, I still think they need to get another centre-back anyway for like Konate. His injury issues aren't amazing. He looks like he might be off as well at the end of this season, possibly. But okay, again, as always, let us know your positions down below as well. Left back then. I'm going to kick it off. Miles Lewis-Skelly.
I thought for a second we were all going to have the same name.
Interesting. Well, I put Miles Lewis-Skelly in my left back team of the season for the previous season, and some people, and I think fair enough criticism, said he probably didn't play enough to actually warrant that. But when he did play, my God, he was absolutely amazing. Yeah. And again, this is someone who is 18. I think he's 19 this season. An absolute freak coming into this side of this Arsenal side, and normally a settled Arsenal side as well, where they have bought a €40 million player in Calafiori who was doing a job at times in that position. and just pushed him aside and said, yeah, this is basically mine. There are definitely still talks about whether Miles Lewis-Skelly will become this central midfielder. I think a lot of Arsenal fans think he'll do that, but it's not going to be this season, I don't think. I think it will be that left-back position. He does so well coming inside as well. He is going to be a great option for England, I think, for when the World Cup comes along in a year's time as well. When we get back to this point, or catch up to this point with the actual team of the season, he could easily be the starting left back possibly for England. If maybe a Lewis Hall, if he's not injured or whatever it might be. Luke Shaw for the 10th year in a row. And so the way it feels like every game he becomes more and more confident, more and more settled in that Arsenal team, and almost feels like it's no question now that Miles Lewis-Skelly is a starter in that Arsenal team. That's no mean feat for a teenager to do, especially in such a high-level Arsenal team as well, where that position requires a lot of thinking and a lot of ability to be able to do it so successfully. For me, Miles Lewis-Skelly is going to be the person who I've picked. Again, worth mentioning for the final one standing. Arsenal playing Manchester United on game week 1. I would actually leave that. I wouldn't pick that one, in my opinion. I feel like that could go either way. It could be a draw. But Ben, who have you got?
I was close to picking Lewis-Skelly, to be honest. I think, again, I just feel like he's going to go from strength to strength. He is such a key core part of that Arsenal team. But I think Henry's got the same player. I thought we were all going to have a clean sweep when you said Mer. I've gone for Marc Cucurella. I think he is a little bit like Lewis-Skelly. Again, he's just become such a crucial part of what Maresca does in terms of the setup at Chelsea. I do feel like with you guys bringing in Jarell Hato as well, you might see a little bit more rotation there in the cup games and the Champions League games to keep Cucurella a bit more fresh.
Supposedly Levi Cole's injured.
I saw that. So
Hato might end up being a starter.
So that might go out the window. But when Cole does return, I think you'll use Hato in maybe a similar role to keep Cucurella a bit more fresh, because he does play a hell of a lot of football and he's so key to you from an attacking perspective as well. Obviously in build-up, that inverted role. He's so good defensively. Again, an excellent Club World Cup campaign. I just do feel like he might have maybe cemented himself as the best left-back in the league. I think and one of the best in Europe. I think it's hard to look past him when you look at the defensive numbers and his attacking output as well. Always loves getting on the end of a cross, loves getting further up the pitch. It's hard to look past him. He's so hard to get past. He's had so many good games against some of the best wingers in the league. I think his confidence is only going to be buoyed by that Club World Cup win as well. I think that's going to do wonders for that Chelsea squad generally. And I think with the sort of character and personality he is, I think that's only going to take his game to another level. So, I just think another year of being one of the most key components in that system, to be honest.
He's had one of the biggest switch-ups I think I've ever seen a player have.
Yeah,
to go from what people at times were thinking the worst ever Chelsea signing. And you got to remember as well, he's the most expensive fullback in the world.
Yeah.
He went for £60 million. But now people wouldn't even bat an eyelid at what he's doing. He has. I completely agree.
I still think that fee is wild. But yeah, I agree. I have Cucurella as well. So I just think I loved him when he was at Getafe. I remember under Bordalas, the kind of wild Spanish manager. I thought he was fun there. And then let's not forget, at Brighton, his defensive numbers were bonkers. So, and I think he's combining that and just getting. Yeah, Ben said it all. He's growing in stature. He's growing in importance. I thought about Kirkej a lot. I think Kirkej is going to have a great campaign.
Yeah, fair enough.
Lewis Hall, again, I thought about putting him in, but he was injured last season.
Did you think about Ait Nouri?
Yes.
No.
You did?
No,
okay.
I didn't consider Ait Nouri.
Because I've got questions about Ryan Ait Nouri where I've always loved his attacking game, and I think we're going to see that flourish at City. I worry about the defensive game massively. I really, really do.
I think Ait Nouri will be used. I think you'll see games maybe where Guardiola still does start at left back. I don't think Ait Nouri is going to necessarily start every game. I think you've seen Pep tinker between different systems in the Club World Cup where he's used Ait Nouri and I think it was Nunez probably on the other side, high and wide to allow those kind of wingers to come inside and play inside forwards. But there's been quite a big bank of protection behind them. It's not like Ait Nouri's going forward and just leaving City massively exposed. And with City's ability to keep the ball with Rodri back in the team, I know he's training away from City, I think, at the moment, but I think he will be fresh by the time the season starts, and we'll talk about him in a second maybe. But I do think Ait Nouri will be used in games where City are looking to have more control, so there'll be a bigger kind of. It's not like you're going to be flying forward and just leaving loads of space. I think City is so good at keeping the ball, ticking it over, just penning teams in, where you won't see like the defensive side of his game massively come out or like improve loads, I don't think, but what you'll see is his technical quality just shine to another level that we saw from what we saw at Wolves. And I did think about him, but I don't think he's as I think there's better players ahead of him essentially. But I did think about Aït-Nouri.
Fair enough. Let's jump over to the DM position. Henry, I'll let you kick things off, mate.
You know what? This is the one I've been most looking forward to because I hate talking about the big teams. I find it so dull. And I thought, how can I put a few wild cards in the pack? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the team of the season last year, it wasn't all just top four.
No. Kirkes was in there. Tielemans. I guess it depends which team of the season you look at, but sure. Sells was in goal. Ola Reina was there.
Deadly serious about this. I think Granit Xhaka, if Sunderland stay up, I think Granit Xhaka will be considered for the team of the season.
I like it.
Yeah,
I cannot express how good this signing is by Sunderland. 32 years old. What he was good at Bayer Leverkusen, he's just unbelievably progressive with his passing play anyway. His ability to sort of break the lines, his ability to progress the ball. I love this guy so much. 2 goals, 7 assists last year. And I think because he was playing in a more aggressive front foot team like Leverkusen and previously at Arsenal, people forget his defensive qualities.
Yeah, he can.
His first season at Arsenal, he was putting up 3.2 tackles and interceptions per 90. So you can get back to that.
Yeah.
Some of my favourite times watching Xhaka off for Switzerland, when you see him play for Switzerland and he's putting everything on the line, like that game when they beat France in the Euro, and he was unplayable that game. He was that good. I mean, it was like his pass that got the goal that put him ahead, or whatever, got them back level. Granit Xhaka, I think if Sunderland are in a position to fight and stay up, he will be the boss man in that midfield, like driving everyone forwards. It's such a commanding, powerful signing in that midfield. If it looks like they're going nowhere fast and he loses the will to live, and he's like, what have I done? Then obviously...
He jumped ship in January.
Yeah. Because I'm not sure Regis Labrie will survive the season. But I if Sunderland stay up, Xhaka is going to be an absolutely mega part of that. And I think we'll all stand back and go, wow. That was a seriously good signing at DM. Obviously, that Rodri's coming back from injury. Obviously, Caicedo, Gravenberch, say whatever you want to say. You know what? It's about putting some outside bets in here.
I agree.
I think Xhaka... I'm like, Fulham, what are you do? Why did you not just look at that and go, oh yeah, we'll have him? Like,
was it not so crazy that it was almost like no one thought they'd get him to that level?
Yeah. It was like, he's going to Saudi Arabia, fair enough. Oh no, actually Sunderland. He's gone to Sunderland.
What?
Anyway, so yeah, I've gone with a deadly serious suggestion for Granit Xhaka.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Ben, have you gone who I've gone for?
I've gone for Rodri, but my kind of my outside shout was it is boring. But I just think again he is the most important player in the league. I think we saw that last season with City's drop off with him out the team. Again, I think it might take him a while maybe just to get fully back up to speed. Pep was quite careful with him in the Club World Cup.
Yeah,
there's not that much to say about Rodri because we all know how good he is and if he can get back to the level, how scary that makes City. I will lock in Rodri, but my outside shout was Boubacar Kamara. I feel like off the back of signing a new 5-year deal at Aston Villa, if he can, again, just like all of these players, he's had injury problems. If he can stay fit, I genuinely think you're going to see this guy become one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. Like his tackles and interception numbers are fantastic. His line-breaking passing ability as well. Like I feel like it's a bit of a weird one with Villa's midfield because obviously Tielemans was so outstanding last season. Obviously they bought Onana for a hell of a lot of money. Who I like Onana. I think he can be quite inconsistent at times. I think Kamara and Tielemans is their best midfield partnership, to be honest. And if they can keep Kamara fit, but I think he's going to be right up there in those kind of conversations. And if Villa have a bit of a struggle next year, but he continues to shine, I think one of the big boys, if Villa need to make a sale this time next year, will be all over someone like him. I think he's 20.
You know who I can imagine him at? Liverpool.
Yeah. Because I think Liverpool this time next year might be looking at another DM just to kind of bolster that midfield. There's been talk
a different kind of DM to Gravenberch.
Liverpool been talking about like, next year they're going to go for Wharton or something like that. But I think Kamara, if someone could, I don't want to just cast off one of Villa's best players, but I do think if he shines like I think he will next season, I think he will be in those kind of conversations. But I'm going to go for Rodri. It's slightly boring pick, but I really like Kamara.
Yeah, I've also gone for Rodri. Again, kind of boring. I thought about Caicedo because I think he is just electric every season. I think he's getting better and better and better. I also thought about Baleba, but arguably he's actually the next kind of midfield position. Yeah. Could be at United as well.
If he goes to Man United, I will lose my head. I'm quite a calm Spurs fan at the best times, right? But like, you know the whole thing of like who actually won that Europa League final? If they signed Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo and Belieber, I'll lose my head.
Oh,
I can't see
you
it.
don't want to see that, guys.
No,
you don't want to
like
see
me when I'm
Ben.
angry.
Yeah, you don't want to see Ben lose his head. But yeah, maybe you can question that Belieber should be the next one position. But I've gone for Rodri here. Again, I think if you were to say a Caicedo, a Gravenberch, completely understandable. I think your suggestion's really fun with Granit Xhaka. Let us know yours in the comments down below as well. We could have possibly done like a going to be and then a fun one on the side, but that would have taken about 2 hours to do the video, so we're not going to do that. Maybe we'll put that in the bank. Not the next midfield position, central midfielder, I've got it down as, I don't mind kicking it off, Adam Wharton.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
I think this year, I know it's not that crazy.
I
think it is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, interesting.
In the best way possible.
Okay.
Obviously, he's a great player. He's unbelievable, but is he going to ultimately stand out in a team of the season above?
Well,
others?
he's
I
up
know
against
I
some
can't
big
reset-
players,
I've just said
isn't
Granit
he?
Xhaka, so, but I mean, at the same time,
I also think it's his injury issues, Wharton. Like again, I know like in an ideal world, none of these players get injured for this. I think Wharton, if he was to stay fit, could 100% put himself in those conversations. When you look at, well, I'll let you speak about Wharton, but like,
Well, yeah. Before I get I've not made points yet, and I'm getting
No, sorry.
shut down. No, but I do understand your raises of concern for injury issues. But again, I think the way we're looking at this is almost like a dream scenario where everyone is fit. That being said, you do have to be aware that Wharton could pick up an injury. What we will say is he kind of had his injury. It was a groin issue. He got surgery. He's been past that. Like
they were
he
careful
seems
with it
fit now.
until-
And you'd like to think he will stay fit because just like I mentioned with Miles Skelly, there could be an outside shout like Wharton is pushing for an England place. Is in like starting place for the World Cup this time next year. And it could dovetail really nicely in that England midfield because Adam Wharton has a unique skill set that not many players have with his ability to win back the ball and then distribute it fantastically well as well. He can also dribble with the ball brilliantly too. Whether for England this ends up being a position where he kind of plays a double pivot with a Declan Rice, whatever, that's for a different discussion. Because I think this year we're going to see him go to that next level where it's almost like every club has to try and get him, whether they are a Liverpool, whether they are a Man City, a United, whatever it might be, they need to go and make sure he's in their team. Because one, he's super, super young. Two, his ability to keep improving is ridiculous. Three, I think the idea that if he started playing with better players around him, that's not to criticise Crystal Palace's squad, but say he was in that Man City squad, I think he'd go to another level as well. And I can really see him doing that this season. There are definitely other shouts here that we'll probably mention that I thought about as well, but I wanted to have a couple of fun ones that wasn't just like the top three teams. And I think Wharton could easily do that. Like it's funny because everyone knows the talent he is. Everyone knows, it's like not that shocking to say like, oh, he could have an amazing season.
Yeah.
But maybe in comparison to the other guys that are playing this position, it is.
He's top class. Like when you think about how he performed in the FA Cup semi-final and the final against two incredibly strong midfields, like we were speaking about Kamara just then, but like the way that he overran that Villa midfield in the semi-final, total domination, was the best player in that game in my opinion. And in the final as well against Man City, the way he stood up, like he has got the ability to perform on the biggest stage. Nothing phases him. I do think it's a really good shout, and I think for England as well, we've already kind of seen it we haven't really seen him play that much for England, but we've seen how highly he's considered, considering the fact that he was picked in the Euro squad by Southgate in the first place, and then obviously Tuchel would have rather have kept him playing minutes with the under-21s, I think, in his first camp, which, we all want to see Wharton play, but fair enough, I guess. I do feel like he's going to make himself impossible to ignore for England by this time next year, and I think if he plays to a level where he can achieve that, then I think by proxy he then becomes a candidate for team of the season if he performs at that level. So, he's a player that England don't tend to produce that often, so I think we've got to cherish him really. We have, and I think I just would like to see from an England perspective, from a selfish England perspective, like I would like to see him managed well at Palace. But like you said, it does feel like they've kind of done that with his surgery, and like they kind of, it does feel like they're doing the right things. But
exactly.
It's a really good shout, I think.
Who is your midfielder?
Tijani Reinders. I feel like this guy could be
the best midfielder in Serie A last season.
He was, he was. Well, so, we can't overlook Scott McTominay, obviously, but he
Scotty too hot. He was the best midfielder.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or nomination.
No, but didn't Reinders win MVP?
McTominay. No, actually, to be fair, I think McTominay won MVP of Serie A,
and then
Reinders
Reinders won
mid-
best midfielder,
which doesn't really make sense.
exactly.
I think one's better than the other.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that my point was correct.
They
in
reckon
what he
McTominay
won.
nomination for Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
He deserves.
Get it in there.
Absolutely.
Get it in there.
Bring it back to
Smoking a cigarette whilst lifting the
so
JP.
good.
You know, Xhaka came 16th for the Ballon d'Or in 2024. That's what I quite like.
Well,
I wonder what he came in the Ballon d'Or, not the Ballon d'Or.
that's below the belt.
I'm being critical there. I shouldn't be talking about pronunciations. That's definitely not. I apologise, Henry. Ben Reinders.
I feel like there's another player that I've got in this team a little bit further forward that I think, if he performs to the level that we expect him to, will be regarded as the signing of the season because of the furore and hype around him. But I feel like Reinders. I think we spoke about this on the last pod that we did, where we did our predictions for the season. I kind of said the same thing. It was like Reinders will be acknowledged as the real signing of the season, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, I do feel like what I was talking about earlier with that control that City will have in the team when Rodri is back. Reinders is going to be a massive part of that as well. All action midfielder, will chip in with goals. I know it's kind of been done to death as a cliche a little bit, but he is the perfect Gundogan replacement. And when you think about how important Gundogan was to City over those years, having someone that is in there just to dictate the tempo and chip in with those big important goals in big games, I think it's going to be hard to look past him. So comfortable on the ball. It's going to allow City to have so much control, will contribute from a defensive perspective as well. I feel like he is a bargain for what City got him for, in my opinion, with the potential upside. So I've gone for Reinders.
Well, if you want to talk about bargains, I don't think anything is more of a bargain than what Liverpool paid for Alexis McAllister. Like,
He's absolutely agree.
40 million, or whatever it was, 35, 40 million from Brighton. I think that is a sensational.
Yeah.
In the world of 100 million signings, to get him for that, I've gone for McAllister. I just think it's. You've been talking about how like Arsenal's midfield defence is the most settled and secure thing there. That Liverpool midfield is still arguably the most settled part of that team at the moment. Gravenberch, him, whoever else you're going to chuck in there, Szoboszlai, maybe Wirtz playing a bit.
This was the only thing I was going to say on McAllister, and I had considered him as well, is that I feel like we might see a little bit more rotation in that Liverpool midfield next season with Wirtz coming in potentially.
Yeah, but I don't think McAllister's the one that gets rotated out of there. It's actually insane. Like 39 goals and assists in his last 4 Premier League season. He was 6th in the Prem for tackles last season and 5th in Europe for dribblers stopped. So he's forgotten
all-round midfielder ever.
Yeah,
Right.
it's forgotten how important he is. He scores absolute bangers as well. Like his goal compilations for Liverpool are excellent.
Disgusting.
And I just think he's such a safe, steady pair of hands. Safe is such an unfair way to even describe McAllister at this point. I just think that Liverpool.
He's a £100 million midfielder now, isn't he? Like, people would pay £100
He's a £100 million
for it. It's ridiculous.
midfielder. I think if you look at sort of replacing Henderson, however way you want to call about it, it's sort of an upgrade. Really.
I agree.
It's
100%.
and I think he's still young. He's only going to get more important in this side. And I think Slot is really going to turn to him and Gravenberch next year and just be like, with our changing attack, with everything going on, your role as securing that midfield is so vital. Yeah. So I think, again, we're going to see another excellent campaign from McAllister. I think Liverpool are going to win the league. I've already said this on your podcast. I didn't want to just stuff the team full of Liverpool players, but for me, when it came to this position, when I looked at the other players available, I felt, for me, McAllister has to be included.
I think that's completely fair enough. He was definitely one of the players I was thinking about.
I would keep an eye out on Szoboszlai though. I think a lot of Liverpool fans have been. I rate McAllister higher, and I think McAllister is better. I do think we're going to see a little bit of rotation out midfield, and like you said, McAllister could be the constant in it. But I think Szoboszlai will go under the radar a little bit next season. A lot of Liverpool fans are very excited about what they've seen from him in that role and the defensive responsibility that he's been given, the energy that he's got to go and break up play. I think we always think of Szoboszlai as like an attacking midfielder, and almost like where Wirtz has come in, is there a place for him in the team? But I don't know. I think I'm really intrigued to see how Liverpool share those minutes about. But I think it's fair to say that he will be McAllister will be the constant. It's just
even more so if they end up getting Alexander Isak as well. How everyone kind of fits into that squad, especially if then Ekitike goes to the left and then Wirtz goes into the middle somewhere. Very interesting. I think that's completely fair enough. I had a little think about Enzo Fernandez. I don't know if that's that mental to suggest.
I don't think
I do question about whether he'll play enough as well with what Chelsea want to use midfield.
I'm actually pleased that he's sort of coming good.
Yeah.
So he is coming good, and he does look. I still think 120 million is absolutely bonkers. But at the same time, after a World Cup, after a major tournament, I mean, it's just like, what are you thinking? But he is coming good. I still think that he's got a way to go to be considered among the very best centre midfielders.
To be fair, he's delivered in the biggest like for Chelsea and for Argentina, like in the biggest moment. He has.
World Cup champions, World Cup champions, double time. 4 years, baby, 4 years, 4 more years. Yeah, I'm hoping next year or they like manage to incorporate it better or some way, shape, or form. I guess they would have made the shot before they had any idea about it. Anyway, the next position is the attacking midfielder. I'm going with Cole Palmer. I think he had a poor, maybe it's too harsh, but not to his standards or second half of the season last year. I think Chelsea have, with the acquisitions, managed to bolster the squad really, really well, which is only going to improve his numbers, in my opinion. Like, with all the players that Chelsea have added, Cole Palmer is still the star. Like, he is still the person that is the guy that's going to be trying to finish most things off, or at least creating things for everyone. Getting the ball to Cole Palmer is still part of the main tactic. I think we saw that massively against PSG in that final, that he was still the person that was basically doing the real tough stuff in the final moments to get that last ball, that bit of creativity to finish it off or to play that ball through. And so I think I'm looking forward to seeing another season, because I felt like he was maybe a little bit. I think he made a lot of people feel a little bit let down with the way his second half of the season was, considering what we had seen, and especially how quick Chelsea started from. But I would also say that a player can't just be this amazing all the time unless they are Lionel Messi. They do have down periods, and what I think was a shame, and what I'm hoping that this season will change, is that one of the biggest issues I think when Palmer isn't on it is you notice it because no one else is. And the performances really drop off. The results don't go Chelsea's way or in their favour as much. And so I'm hoping this year, with another year under the same manager, with this, improved tactics or so on and so forth, improved players, that we'll see when Palmer does have maybe a game or two that he isn't quite at it. He doesn't have the pressure on his shoulders of being like, oh, we've just lost 2-0 because I've not done anything. Yeah, we've managed to. Instead, it's like we've managed to win the game even without me contributing. But point being, more so, he is just amazing. Like, he's a ridiculous talent. The things he does, like, one of my favourite things about Cole Palmer is that he makes things look so easy. The body feints he does, the fake shots he does. He's not like a Neymar-esque skillful player where he's doing these ridiculous moves. It is just the simple fact of a drop of a shoulder. Yeah. It's just being able to keep the ball really tightly. I think about the goal that we scored against Spurs, at Spurs, on the right-hand side. The little bit of skill. It's ridiculous. And I think hopefully we'll see him continue to just grow and grow and grow. And again, we've mentioned the World Cup a few times. If he's not starting in that England squad, there we go, I'll be fuming. But anyway.
But everyone's obsessed with Jude Bellingham.
Anyway, maybe Tuchel won't be. Ben, who's your attacking midfielder?
Yeah, I echo everything you said. I've got Cole Palmer. I think one thing with the second half of the season last year was that it was kind of only really the output. Obviously, I'm not saying he was as amazing as he was in the first half of the season, and you have to judge him on the output, of course, as well when there's a drop off. But his chance creation numbers were still right up there. Like, it was almost as he was still being let down by the people around him as much as anything. But maybe now with Chelsea, with more killers in that team, I think with the Pedro and obviously we'll see how Esteval gets on, and Djellab, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, I think it's hard to look past Palmer for this position. I feel like he's just that Club World Cup. I think, like I said earlier about Cucurella, the confidence that comes from that
is ridiculous.
I think it's going to flow through the Chelsea.
Well, there's a really it sounds sad to say, but there's a compilation out there of all the chances Palmer has made for others and they've missed.
Yeah,
and it is like 40, 50. It's like ridiculous, and it's like good chances.
PSG, I think they were like, oh my god, this guy's actually out.
I think a lot of people realised that.
Yeah, which is great. What do you think about? I've put him at right wing. I put him at right winger because
I can understand that. What, over Salah?
Well, I knew you two were both. Johnson. I know that you two. I knew
over Johnson.
Brennan Kudus. Yeah, Kudus is coming in hot next year. Don't worry. I actually think Kudus will be quite good.
Yes, I think you'll find him at right wing.
No. Basically, I think Salah. I knew you two would put him. I mean, it's like, I could have just been like, yeah, Salah. I do think like Liverpool's diversified attack will take off a bit of the requirements on Salah next year. Like, if Salah gets the same, anywhere near the same numbers as this year, fair enough. Year older, I know that people are like, well, he keeps doing it. But the whole point of bringing Wirtz, Ekitike, and potentially Isak in there as well is to take a bit of weight and strain off Salah.
Very true.
At right wing. So that's why I've decided to put Cole Palmer in there. I don't necessarily agree with this, but I just did it for a bit of diversity. I'll put Morgan Rogers at cam because
Okay. He's an option for me on the left wing.
well, Cam is
Sure.
according to who scored.
Sure,
Cam
sure,
is
sure,
very played most of his minutes last year, and do you know what's so funny? Oh, Pat. You know how Pat hates Morgan Rogers and thinks he's crap, even though he got like 8 goals, 10 assists last year.
Played really well in the biggest Champions League games.
Yeah. If you look at Cole Palmer's FB ref, it's actually shocking. Like he's not good for anything other than take-ons and through balls. And then, like, even his shots are down, his touches in the attack and penalty area are really poor, but he has 8 goals and 10 assists last year. And when you talk to
Rogers, sorry, you mean?
yeah,
But yeah, I think
and you talk to every Villa fan, they're like, yeah, he's unreal. He's so great to watch.
Yeah.
He's just turned 23. I think he's going to have a really important role in that Villa side. We love, like, a young English guy doing well when it comes to these kind of team of the season nominees. I think Villa are actually fine, in a good position. I really don't think the drop-off is going to be huge or anything. I think playing the Europa League where they can maybe gun for a trophy is going to help them. That's the only thing. Anything that might be the thing that sets them back is they have a genuine chance of winning that competition.
Yeah.
And it might like negate from their Premier League ambitions towards the back end of the season, but they're still like a really good side with one of the best managers in the league, hands down. So yeah, I just think I really like Morgan Rogers.
I think he's amazing.
And on the basis that I
amazing.
put Cole Palmer at right wing, I'm sticking the Podgers Cam for this
Fair
one.
enough. I think he's amazing, man. I think he's an absolute incredible. He's a proper, in my opinion, old school player with how much of a flat track bully he is as well.
Yeah.
Like I think he absolutely bullies defenders sometimes with his ability. Like when you see him running through in midfield and just essentially just shrugging people off him, it is a joy to watch. Indeed. Striker, have we all just got Erling Haaland?
I have, yeah.
If Isaac moves to Liverpool,
You can go Isak.
I would go for Isaac.
Yeah.
There's an asterisk.
I will have that same asterisk.
But
No, I won't. I'll still go Haaland.
I do think it's Haaland. I think it's. Yeah, I think he's just going to be scoring loads of goals next year. So
What did he get last? He was top goal scorer last year. Still 25, was it?
he was still Premier League
Something like that. And in a bad year, like he is just a freak. It is sometimes, when we see. I think sometimes I'm always mentioned it about like Kevin De Bruyne and Salah. Like we get used to the level, if that makes sense. So when they do achieve it,
Yeah.
it doesn't like consistently. It doesn't feel as crazy.
Again, my only asterisk of Haaland, I think Marmoush was so good last year. Like when he came in,
I thought about Marmoush in here. I didn't know whether to put him on the left wing, but I couldn't quite.
I've put Marmoush at left wing, but I was still like, he's not. Is he really a
Yeah,
left wing?
yeah.
He's more of like a centre forward.
I think we've all probably got a bit of a shoehorning job. I think we've all probably got a bit of a shoehorning job going in on left wing, to be honest, because I do feel like I saw George Cave made a video about this the other day. It's like, who actually is the best left winger in the Prem now?
Traditional left winger.
It's probably Gakpo, isn't it? Or
There isn't
Gordon.
many. Yeah, it's like one of those.
Gordon, I thought about. Even
Gordon.
like Doku, I thought maybe this would be.
I've actually got
Doku's year.
Cunha possibly in my left wing position as well.
Yeah, but I do think like I've got a attacking midfielder at left wing as well. I do feel like it always happens with the team of the season anyway. It's like, right, how can we cram all of the best players in the team? It's like if someone,
But it is roughly like I think that's the main point. Like the team of the season is just 11 players essentially.
Yeah.
4 defenders.
I'll
3
play him at left
midfielders,
wing back
3
if I have to.
attackers. Or sometimes 3 defenders. I think one year they did 3 at the back, didn't they?
If Isak goes to Liverpool, I don't think he's going to be able to be that star at Newcastle again. Given like I think the way he's pushed for the move is a bit ridiculous. I think he's been ill-advised in my opinion.
The chapter is closed. He said on the Athletic podcast yesterday. That's what he said.
What, as in Liverpool are just moving on?
No, Newcastle. It's going to happen,
What
mate.
do you mean the chapter's closed?
As in
He was
like
just like, I don't think there's any way back for him really. I don't
to
know.
play for supposedly.
They've got to make a stand and say you can't.
I don't think because also they need to like. If they want to buy someone this season,
He has to go.
He has to go. Like they need the money as well. As in, like PSR wise, they need the money to be able to go and spend 80 million quid, and also like they still need a midfielder. They still kind of need a centre back. Like they need other positions. They need that money as well.
I think it's a net positive for Newcastle if they sell Isak.
I said, yeah. And then, it's
hard.
like the links. It's like the links to Jackson, by the way. Like again,
do a lot worse.
Depends on the fee. I think personally, Nicholas Jackson to Newcastle is a better transfer than Sesko to Newcastle. Personally, I think Nicholas Jackson guarantees you.
It depends what the fee is.
Sure, if it's the same fee, I think Nicholas Jackson is better. Player.
I'd get that. I actually think that Jackson would be a great signing. My issue with Jackson to Newcastle would potentially be that you're gaining so much in terms of what Newcastle are already great at, in terms of having a striker that can hold up the play, link up the play, bring those other fantastic wingers on transition into the game. Because Jackson, when he gets to the halfway line, back to goal, like we saw it in the Club World Cup, we've seen it so many times for Chelsea, his ability to create space for others and be that facilitator, he's one of the best in the world at it, in my opinion, in terms of being a sort of hold-up striker. Technical quality is so good, first touch, great. And we've spoken about this so much with Newcastle, and it's why I wasn't massively hot on the Elanga signing, because I feel like they need a bit of a differential. They need someone against low blocks, against teams that are going to sit in, that maybe like a Sesko, who has that more. I think Jackson's a better striker than Sesko.
Yeah.
Like I do, but as an all-round package. But I think Sesko, maybe the trade-off is that you get some more of those more explosive moments, like those shots from outside the box, like you get with Isak.
A goal out of nothing kind of thing. Yeah.
But I think if they were to sign Jackson plus like maybe another winger, more of a creator type profile. I've said Harvey Elliott for ages, like someone like that. I think Jackson instantly becomes a better signing.
Right. Okay, I get
but
what
I like it. I do like it.
I get what you mean. The whole. I mean, Newcastle may have had one of the worst transfer windows we've ever seen, quite possibly. But quickly back to the Erling Haaland point for being striker for me. I just think he's a freak. Like, the guy can score 34 goals in a season in the Premier League and it'd be a normal thing. Like, we're talking about a season last year, a down year, where he got over 22 Premier League goals, 34 I think in all competitions. Like, that's ridiculous. And I think sometimes we do get a little bit used to it. And again, worth mentioning, of course, for the final one standing, they are playing Wolverhampton Wanderers in game week 1. So I would be
that could be a battering.
I would be suggesting them to pick. In fact, I think I have gone for them. Let's jump over then. Firstly, right winger, Mo Salah. You've put Cole Palmer.
Wait, Strand Larson at centre forward. Don't sleep on him.
Don't sleep on him.
Strand Larson actually could have as the main man, the big lump up front. Don't sleep on Strand Larson. But yeah, I put Cole Palmer in. You both put Salah. If I'd said Salah, it was boring. But yeah, I put Cole Palmer because in that Club World Cup final, he was playing right wing.
No, and I think there is an argument to say he may end up playing right wing. It could, again, if the Simmons transfer happens.
Yeah, good point.
Simmons might be almost the middle one, Palmer on the right, and
I still think you're going to get like
Gittins or whatever on the left.
Especially if Gusto plays like a significant amount of minutes, which he might do to manage James. Like, you're going to see Gusto deployed more as a
touchline winger,
so that if Palmer's playing on the right, he still drifts into that half space with Simmons anyway.
You know that thing, that filter people use when it's like the mathematics kind of going everywhere, when someone's like trying to figure something
out. From The Hangover?
Yeah. It's just
yeah, it's from that.
Genuinely, that's how I feel when it comes to like how Chelsea play all of their attacking players. It's like, well, yeah, the thing is, like Esteval, he's going to come in at like left centre forward, right mid, attacking swinger. He's going to be doing this, and then you got Xavi Simmons. Yeah, this is how it makes sense because he's going to be kind of like swinging around the back and like doing this. And then you got like Liam Delap and João Pedro. João Pedro's not really a centre forward. He's sort of like a false nine. Like, he's going to be coming in doing this, and then like Liam Delap's the occupying defender. Let's not forget you like and Kunku and Pedro Neto. I'm like, do Chelsea actually know what they're doing with all of their attackers? Do Chelsea honestly know what they're doing with all of their attackers?
Lots of minutes to play, mate.
It's just they've just got sort of some weird A team of a billion attackers, and they're all just going to sort of be fizzing around like Cole Palmer. He's a right winger, but he inverts all the time. It's just like, oh my god.
2 players per position.
What are they doing?
Lots of minutes available. Also, different kind of players, I would say. Different kind of players for different match scenarios.
To be fair, like, and again, we did see with Maresca at the Club World Cup that, again, like I said with Pep, he was kind of tinkering and trying different things. He was almost like a 2-striker formation or kind of playing like dual number 10s at times. Like, I agree with you. Like, it is quite a lot to wrap your head around to try and make it work. But I feel like
Garnacho as well. He's going to come in.
Yeah, that one I find mental. Like trying to. It was like, I thought, oh, maybe if Chelsea are going for Garnacho instead, maybe Spurs could go in for Xavi Simmons. But it's like, no, we want both of them as separate deals. I'm like, okay, as a Spurs fan, right, I've stuck up for Chelsea transfer business a bit more than other people, saying, you know what, they've found loopholes, they're exploiting them, whatever. Is it that good for the game? Probably not, but can you blame them building the squad that they are? Fair play, they want to compete, I get it, right, and having the strength and depth. That is one where I'll draw the line and be like, why do you need Garnacho? But because he's a different sort of profile of winger.
But is it not
Gittins?
But is it not also?
I forgot about Gittins.
But is it not though?
I draw the line at Garnacho.
But essentially, is it not 2 players at each position?
Yeah, but what about, so what about Pedro? I know he's Pedro.
So Pedro, like if it seems like Jackson's gone, so it seems like the front 2 is going to be Djellab and I agree. But it seems like the front 2 is going to be Djellab and Pedro. Then your right wing is Esteval and Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
your attacking midfielder is Palmer and Simmons.
Yeah.
Your left wing
Gittins.
is Gittins. And then Garnacho.
Yeah, but what about
I
Neto?
guess.
Neto can play over there, can't he? As well?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. But
I'd
my
argue he's better
my
on the
point is
left.
like my point is there's like 2 players per position. That's my.
Fair enough, but I just.
I do understand
At
the
the
criticism.
elite level,
I do
don't
understand
think
it.
it's necessarily sustainable, and it's more so it's more so the way that people talk about how all of these different players are going to be doing all these different things.
Well, if
it's
you don't play
honestly-
any centre backs,
it's
then
like
fit them
Pac-Man
all.
figuring out their front line. They're all like running everywhere, sort of doing stuff.
Well, when we listen to that title at the end of the season, we'll see you as the last laugh. Okay, our left wing, final position here, Ben. Who have we got? Henry, you said you've stuck in.
Yeah, I put in Omar Mamouche because
think that's a very good
think
shout.
he's going to command minutes. I don't
Yeah.
think this is going to be a situation with Julian Alvarez or an Iheanacho before him where it's just that he's just going to accept being a backup striker to Erling Haaland. That he's an £80 million signing from Frankfurt, and everyone always goes, "Oh, strikers from the Bundesliga, they can't really cut it." Hello, look at this guy last year. He scored one of the best goals I've ever seen. Just like spammed it in from 40 yards. It was unbelievable. I think he like 7 goals last year. He was brilliant, and he added some rejuvenation to that attack.
Yeah, he was
I
really
actually think I know we're a bit all over the place once we got to the attackers. I think Foden's going to have a much better campaign in behind. I think he's an outside shout for CAM if he can get back to some kind of level. But yeah, Mamouche. It's difficult because like will Doku play on the left wing? Shirky, he might like jump around a little bit. But I do think at this point, Mamouche commands the ability to start in that attack.
I
If
agree.
you're playing Haaland centre forwards, then he'll play out there. I think his assists are dramatically going to improve, playing alongside Haaland as well. So the numbers that he could put up, I love watching Mamouche when he plays football. So I've gone for him as my left winger.
I think it's a really good shout. I think as well, like we was kind of saying earlier about how the different ways that City might play. If you're using Aït-Nouri as an outlet more high and wide on the left, that allows Marmoush to, I think, play in his best position where he's not necessarily playing as a left winger, but he's allowed to rotate in those kind of half spaces, dovetailing really nicely with Haaland, almost playing in the front too anyway. So I think you're going to see him score a lot of goals and almost used a little bit like Alvarez was, where they kind of were basically playing in front two. It's like the same, when you think about Marmoush, it only makes the argument for Haaland as the striker even stronger, despite, the argument presents itself with Erling Haaland, but like the supply line to Haaland is a joke, and I think with Marmoush he's going to rack up plenty of assists as well. I think it's a good shout. I feel like we've probably all shoehorned someone in. Like I said, I've gone for Florian Wirtz because I feel like he will. I just think he's going to be amazing, and it was hard not to get him in this team. I wanted Palmer in there as well, but I think with Wirtz again in that Liverpool front line, you're going to see plenty of fluidity, plenty of rotation in between positions. You kind of saw it with Ekatike the other night. Often likes to peel out to that kind of left channel, do that channel running. If they do get Isak as well, I think you're going to see them occupying so many different positions and kind of picking up all these different spaces. Wirtz will play more centrally a lot of the time, but I do think you'll often see him floating out into that left channel to make space for others and to kind of create from out there. You saw him do that with Bayer Leverkusen a lot, picking the ball up on the left and driving inside. I know obviously they played a 5-back system, so the wing back would allow him to kind of pick up those number 10 pockets on the left, and I think you'll see something similar with Liverpool given how Kerkez likes to bomb on. I think Wirtz will often be that kind of creative from out there, and I just don't see it not working. I think again, I wanted to speak about Salah quickly because I feel like we're going to see a different, not necessarily a different side to Mo Salah next year, but I feel like we're going to see him used in a different way that brings out some of the strengths that people have decided to ignore for a long time. Like I feel like his chance creation has always been great, but people have
last season it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
people have run with this narrative for so long that Salah isn't exciting to watch. Salah is boring to watch. Like, yeah, he's amazing when it comes to the output. He's such a deadly finisher. Like under Klopp, he thrived in a more transitional role where Liverpool would break forward and give the ball to him one-on-one, bang, it was game over. But now, I think when you saw him in that game against Bilbao the other day, like I spoke about it earlier with Frimpong, high and wide, Kerkez high and wide, allowing Wirtz and I know Gakpo played on the left, but like Wirtz and Salah were kind of dovetailing as like 2-10s. Salah's chance creation that game and his some of the little touches and passes in that central area were a joke.
Yeah.
Like an absolute joke. And I feel like Salah, like you kind of hinted it earlier, like he'll do well to get the same numbers that he did last season. I think the goals might drop off just because of that shared responsibility and all of the amazing attackers they've got in that team, especially if they were to sign Isak. The pressure and responsibility has been taken off Salah being the main striker has gone away, but I think you could maybe see his assists improve, even if his numbers don't improve dramatically from last season or drop off a bit from last season. I feel like this is the season where
everybody will appreciate how good of a footballer Mo Salah actually is in the role that he's been deployed. And Liverpool fans will tell you, we've been telling you this for the longest time, but I feel like the way that Slot will deploy him, the general public will see a sort of different side to him to what we've seen before. So I think he will get in there for that. I think Liverpool are going to win the league as well. I think he's going to have a massive part to play to it, which is why he's in the team first and foremost. But I feel like everyone will actually give Salah his flowers from a footballing perspective next year as well.
No, I think it's completely fair enough. Absolutely. Though it always comes down to, there are some people that I think because he is not skillful.
It's aesthetic bias. It's a massive aesthetic bias.
So I think that always kind of goes against it. That always brings up that Hazard conversation.
But look at some of the touches. There was a pass where he totally split the defence open to release Gakpo the other night for a chance. He's so clever, and I feel like in his, again, physically he shows no sign of slowing down. The guy is an absolute
freak.
Adonis. And look at him,
freak of nature.
He's. I do feel like we're seeing him used slightly differently.
Fair enough. My left wingers, I mentioned I'd been thinking about putting Morgan Rogers there. I was thinking about Cunha for United, but I'm actually going to go with a proper left winger, guys. Anthony Gordon.
Genuinely don't mind it. I thought about it.
When I was looking back, I forgot how good of a year he had, not previous season, the season before, where he had 15 assists or something ridiculous and 10 goals. Obviously, he did suffer with injuries last year, but that is kind of why they've got Harvey Barnes there. And there's a reason why there have been rumours that Liverpool have looked around him and shopped around him. I think, actually, to be fair, if someone said Gakpo as well, I'd completely think that's a great shout too. But I'm interested to see, especially as the fact that it does feel almost confirmed that will not be in that Newcastle squad, the development of that Newcastle squad. And if they end up going for a Jackson or a Visser, two strikers who I think are both very good at being great players creatively for their wingers and giving them chances, we might see Gordon flourish even more and kind of go to that next level. That's the one issue where it felt like we saw his great year at Newcastle, and we all thought, God, this guy could be one of the best wingers in Europe. And then I felt last year he dropped off a little bit slightly, maybe partially due to injury. The Newcastle squad generally, I think, had a little bit of a drop off.
He did that interview, didn't he, over the course of the summer, where he said that the Liverpool links, it kind of all he
threw his head a bit.
Yeah, and it was like he'd been playing so much football, obviously played in the under-21 Euros the year before, playing in the Euros for England. It was like he never really had a break at all. Fair. So I feel like it's almost like this year, I saw him speak about it in pre-season, where he was like, I'm coming into this with a much more clear head. I'm really enjoying my football again.
Perfect. Well, that's exactly what you want to be hearing, because I do think this is a guy who, especially if Newcastle do end up moving on Isak, that he can kind of become a little bit of the spearhead of the side. He can kind of become the person who drives this Newcastle attack forward. For me, I'm going to go with Anthony Gordon, but I think you could basically pick a bunch of these guys and be absolutely fine with any of them. Even Cunha, I can see Cunha having a good season at Man United as well. There we have it. I'm actually going to end up leaving manager of the season. We'll leave that for our predictions video next week because we're going to talk about that. I think we can then mention other managers a little bit easier in that one as well. Just Frank. There you go. Look, that's a little bit of work already done next week, Henry, for you. It's absolutely fine. But that is a little bit of a nod to next week. Our full predictions video for next season going out. None of the early stuff. It is what we're committing to for next week. But boys, thank you so much for joining me. Ben, as you've got the mic, where can lovely people at home check you out? TikTok, Ben Bowman, YouTube, Ben Bowman, FC Bottle Job podcast. New Spurs podcast coming soon as well. Keep your eye on that. Thanks. Lovely. Henry Hill, where can the people at home check you out?
Zach's trying to encourage me to make my own content.
Exactly.
So let me know if you'd actually watch any of that. I don't know how that would look necessarily. I might get my TikTok following again.
Yeah, good. At least one of them.
Go to Joe if you want. I don't really care.
I'll put Henry's links down below. Let's get the Henry Jean-Claude Van Damme Hill channel going.
Let's do it.
That will be fantastic. I've just knocked over the mic, the audio thing. So if you can hear me, thank you all so much for watching the video that went out on Monday. Really appreciate it. Another video coming out on Monday. Subscribe to the channel. Rate the podcast 5 stars on Spotify if you're listening, or any other audio platform that it's on. And we'll see you guys next week. Love you lots.
Bye.